Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss the decision by Rachel Reeves to put the pensions review, which was supposed to begin this month, on hold. She says it is to avoid putting businesses under too much pressure, and this is technically true, but it's not the whole story, I suspect. After all, she didn't make this decision alongside the budget, which of course already put a bit of extra pressure on some businesses. So when she was announcing the budget, she was still planning this review. So what changed? Well, interestingly, and not for the first time, I think my YouTube analytics may hold the answer, if you will believe that. But first, for daily political commentary, please hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out. So first of all, what is the pension review supposed to be about? Why is it such a big deal? Well, work pensions are not considered adequate. There are some who think that the contributions for both workers and bosses needs to be boosted by 50% of the current levels. The pension review was supposed to work out just what the contributions need to be in order, for the pensions to be fit for purpose. So this is important. However, this review, which was supposed to begin by the end of this year, has now been put on hold indefinitely. So why is this? Reeves says it's to avoid putting too much extra pressure on businesses. Sort of true, not the whole truth. Timing's interesting. The economy is in a bit of a mess, we know that. Only the Tories tried to pretend that our economy was in good shape before Labour came in. But the recent news that the economy has shrunk in October for the second month in a row, clearly alarming the Treasury. Now, you may think that this was before the budget announcement. The budget was announced at the end of October. So anything that happened to the economy in like September and October, for example, had nothing to do with Reeves's measures. It's not entirely the case, because it was being leaked that employers' national insurance might go up. So some businesses were putting investment decisions on hold until they'd heard the budget for themselves. And now that they have heard the budget for themselves, and as far as some of them are concerned, their fears have been realised, if the Treasury thought that economic growth would be returning very quickly, they would still be going ahead with this pension review, I think. They obviously don't think that. And they are desperate to avoid doing anything which could hit consumer or business confidence, because the last thing they want is a recession. Especially as there's no way the Tory media will downplay this one. They're not going to describe this one as a technical recession because it will be shallow and short-lived. No. But of course, we don't know what the figures for November or December will be, do we? Maybe they'll be all right. Except I think I have an inkling, because I often don't have to wait 2 months to get a rough idea about how the economy is going. What happens is, so for example, this October, we've had this October's figures, right? We've had them in December. It takes, a month and a half-ish to get them through. Then what will happen is a few months' time, they'll be revised, because actually it takes a long time to get an accurate view. So we'll get a revised version. Now, maybe that revised version will go up a bit. Maybe it'll be 0% instead of minus 0.1%, but it might be minus 0.2% or something, right? But I have a crude way of divining the rooms with my YouTube channel. See, the vast majority of my income comes from advertising revenue on the channel. And because I'm a bit of a data geek, I track lots of analytics on an Excel spreadsheet. I spend a good amount of time, throughout the week filling in my Excel spreadsheet, so I have a good idea of channel trends, how the channel's doing, on all sorts of metrics. It doesn't always help me come up with ideas to make it better, but at least I know where I am. Now, I've been monetizing YouTube since 2015, so nearly 10 years. So I have a good view of the ebb and flow of advertising rates across the year. In the last 4 months of the year, not just this year, any year, the rates always go up, traditionally by a lot. This makes sense. People are spending more in the run-up to various holidays, culminating the mother of all retail seasons, Christmas. And so retailers ramp up their spending on advertising during this time, because that's when most consumers are spending. So that's where you save up most of your advertising budget for. Now, this chart shows my advertising rates from August to December for 2019, which is when I started monetizing the channel, to 2022, which was before that global inflation hit. The bar shows the rates for each month compared with the average for the year as a percentage. So if the bar is negative, it means the rate that month was below the average for the year. And if the bar is positive, it means it was above average. And if it's a big bar, it means it was well above average. You can see that the rate ramps up, with 2021 being a particularly good year. So much so, it looks like the chart is giving me the middle finger. But nonetheless, all nice, healthy percentage boosts on the annual average, because this is what happens, and it's what's been happening even with my previous channel that I was monetizing. You know, you get to August is always a bit funny. I think it's because a lot of people are on holiday. So, you know, but for whatever reason, August can sometimes be all right and sometimes be terrible. It's a funny one. But September's always really good. And then October's usually better. November is almost always better. And then December usually round about the same as November. Sometimes a bit better, sometimes a bit worse, right? And then after Christmas, it drops off a cliff and January is terrible. So now let's expand it to take in 2022 and 2023. Now, October was a problem for both of these years, and it was even negative last year, 2023, which, if you recall, is when we were entering the recession last year. We didn't find out for certain until the start of this year, but I said at the time I sort of suspected it because I have this sort of early warning on these things. Now, of course, my advertising rates are not a measure of the health of the whole economy. It just measures retail health, I suppose, or consumer confidence. But that is an important part of the health of the economy. So I knew that last October's figures were going to be bad 2 months before they were announced officially. But I still want to point out that November's figures were still decent. And although last year December was a bit anemic, it was still better than the annual average. So now let's expand it to include this year's figures. Ooh. November, not as healthy as last year. And December is negative. I've never seen this. November and December are almost always the strongest months of the year. So huge consumer season. Lots of advertising money being spent. Yet this November was pants. And this December is worse than my annual average. I have never seen this. So what I'm going to say is this. When we get the November and when we especially get the December figures, so we're talking like February time, and because we always getting by, you know, 6-7 weeks later, they're going to be, the December ones especially are going to be dire. And the Treasury will also have fingers on the pulse of different measures of economic health as well, better than mine. I think this decision of Reeves is because she feels she can't afford to knock business or consumer confidence anymore. The measures she's put in place for economic growth are for later. She's not going to get an instant benefit. She cannot get the benefit from the measures in her budget for a few years' time. And actually even longer for some of her measures. Because I'll say this for her, unlike most chancellors, she's actually put in place long-term plans, which is for the benefit of the country, but politics by its nature demands short-term thinking. If you hit confidence too hard, even if the rewards later will be good, I mean, if you hit it too hard, you'll never recover and you won't be around to boast about the long-term gains. And if you don't show progress before the next election, you may not win it and you won't be around to benefit from anything. Now, this doesn't mean we won't get the pension review just because it's been put on hold indefinitely. Because I don't think Reeves made this decision to avoid annoying some businesses. I think she's done it out of fear of the economic figures. Once those figures are looking like they can take the next knock, I think the pension review will come then. But right now, October's figures were disappointing, showing a contraction of 0.1%. Now, I mean, 0.1% is neither here nor there. I said this when the Tories were in power. There is no real difference between 0.1% growth and 0.1% contraction. It's purely about the public perception. One is growth and therefore good news. One is contraction and therefore bad news. The scale of it hardly seems to matter to the media or the public. Now, November was much worse than previous Novembers, but the rate still went up on my channel compared to October, though only very slightly. So I'm guessing November's figures won't be good, but there is a chance that they could be technical growth, depending on whatever happens. But I am going to say this. I think December's figures are so far out there that when they officially come out, I think I'm confident in saying they're going to be terrible. I think the fourth quarter of 2024 is going to be contraction overall. So remember the definition of recession, 2 quarters in a row of contraction. So Reeves will desperately need the first quarter of next year to be growth. Otherwise, those recession headlines will be everywhere. And Reeves can't really do anything right now to stimulate growth in the immediate term. So I think she just wants to avoid doing anything which can strangle it. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. If you've enjoyed the video, please click the like button and subscribe for further content. And if you'd like to support the channel further, you can click the join button for memberships. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later.